What is going on, everybody? This is Clint from odds.com and the Die Hard MMA podcast, coming to you with your post-weigh-in recap for UFC Vegas 13. First off, I want to get it out of the way early. You guys should know this is going to be a shorter video than normal because apparently they had some technical issues today and they didn't get the stream up and running in time for the show. So I was able to catch maybe the last 5 weigh-ins, and I've been really sifting through Twitter and trying to find the tweets that Dana White puts out there and little videos that people have taken of these fighters when they're getting up and down on the scale. But the fact of the matter is, I was not able to watch every single one of these fighters step on and off the scale like I normally do. So the reads are going to be a little bit cramped this week, and I am just basically going to go off of what I saw from the face-offs because that's really all I was able to see with my own 2 eyes. So let's go right on ahead and get into this thing. Kicking off our night, we've got Gustavo Lopez taking on Anthony Birchak. Now, Gustavo came in at 135.75, which I thought was a little bit odd. I think 135.5 or 135.6 is all we ever hear. So really weird to see a 0.75 for his weight. Again, this was one of the ones that was affected by the lack of the stream. Same thing with Birchak. He came in at 136. Now, when these guys faced off, there's a definitive height advantage for Birchak. However, I don't know how much that's actually going to help him here. He's a grappler by nature, not necessarily a striker. He's been gone from the UFC for several years, had a couple of semi-hand-picked opponents that he's been able to look good against, and now he got the short notice call up here. I don't think that he's going to do very well against Lopez. I think Lopez is kind of a dark horse here. He's a guy I'm excited to see moving forward and see how he does. But the fact of the matter is he's still untested at the UFC level also. So Birchak being a grappling specialist, if he gets this thing to the ground, Lopez may be in trouble. I think Lopez will be able to wrestle his way through this thing and then pick Birchak apart as the fight goes on. We just don't know what kind of shape Birchak is in. He looked good at the face-offs. He looked like he was moving well, had plenty of energy. So I don't know that he's going to have a bad gas tank, but I also know that he is taking this fight on short notice. So we really have no clue how good of shape or conditioning he's going to be in. I've got a slight lean to Lopez here in this fight. However, I will not be pulling the trigger because of all the unknowns. Next up, we've got Max Griffin taking on Ramiz Brahimaj. Both men came in at 170 pounds. Again, no stream here for the weigh-ins. I saw some of the highlights. Both these guys look really, really good. Now, when they face off, Max looked a decent amount larger than Brahimaj. Both guys were in great shape, so I think this is going to be a solid fight. I really like the mindset of where Max Griffin is. He's been just kind of the exciting fighter. He's been the guy that gets in battles, gets in wars, and it seems like he's kind of turning that corner finally of going, oh shit, I don't want to just be an exciting fighter my whole time. I want to actually win some fights. So it looks like he's in a better mental spot for this particular fight, and I think that the size and strength advantage is really going to help him. I have Max Griffin in a 1-unit parlay with Barcelos. Geez, I'm totally blanking. Barcelos, thank you. With Honi Barcelos later on in the card. Just a little 1-unit shot for plus money, and I like that position. I've got a slightly into Max Griffin here. I do think that he wins. However, it's always scary to lay chalk on a guy like this, and I do think that Brahimaj is a guy who's got a future in the UFC. I do think he's very talented, but that first-round submission or bust against a guy who's got solid grappling and solid submission defense, I don't know if this is the fight for him. It's been all Brahimaj money coming in. He opened up at plus 160. He's all the way down to plus 110 in spots. So if you do like Max Griffin, you can get him at a much more affordable minus 140. I parlayed him earlier in the week when he was around minus 170 or something like that, so kind of botched this line move a little bit. I lean Griffin. Now he's getting to the price where you can kind of play him straight if you do like him. Otherwise, most of the value is gone on Brahimaj, and I just kind of sit tight. I think Max Griffin wins the decision here. Darren the Damage Elkins takes on Ruiz Eduardo Grigori. We've got both men coming in at 145.5. Again, no stream here, unfortunately. Both guys looked pretty good when they came into the face-offs. Business as usual for Darren Elkins. This guy's been in the UFC forever. He's done this thing so many times. I'm not expecting much different from him. Grigori is really the guy that's got to prove himself here. They size up pretty well. I thought Grigori was going to have a significant height and reach advantage, but they're actually roughly the same size. It was a respectful weigh-in. Not a lot to tell you on that one, honestly. I hate this price tag. I think Darren Elkins should be able to get this victory simply through his sheer grappling. However, I can't tell you that he's going to go out there and grapple. If he decides to strike, he's putting himself right in the fire with a guy like Grigori. Darren Elkins is coming off of a 3-round war with Nate the Train Landwehr, and I don't know how much he's going to be able to take at this point. They call him the damage for a reason. Eventually, it's going to be a problem. If he doesn't take this thing to the floor, Grigori's got a puncher's chance in this fight. So I'm not going to touch it. If it was a pick'em, I probably would put money on Darren Elkins, but it's not a pick'em. I don't want to lay minus 250 on a guy whose chin looks like it's just ready to crack. Alexander Romanov taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Romanov came in at 260. Rogerio de Lima came in at 258. Now, no stream for Romanov. I did get to see De Lima weigh in. He looks like he's in a bit better shape. You can always tell by his chest, his shoulders, his arms. You know, the rest of him has kind of got that flabby heavyweight thing going on. So you can tell the kind of condition he's in based off of his arms. And he looks like he's been putting in some work. King Kong is huge. Romanov is absolutely massive. When they faced off, that was the one thing you can immediately tell. This is a heavyweight taking on a bloated 205er, and that's exactly what we've got here in this spot. I agree with the line. I agree with the move. We got in on this one early. I've got a parlay with Alexander Romanov with somebody, Tanner Boser, later on in the card. I absolutely love that. What I've done for this one is I've actually added another parlay. I'm going to go with the under 1.5 here because really there's only a puncher's chance for Rogerio de Lima. He looks like he came ready. He looks like he came in shape, but there's no way he's stuffing a takedown. And once he gets on the floor, he's just completely a fish out of water. He's completely helpless. So if he's going to win, it's going to happen in the first minute or two of that fight. And if he doesn't get it there, he's going to be looking for a way out of that cage, and he's going to be looking for it quickly. So I like that under 1.5. It's a little pricey right now, so I don't mind using it in a parlay like I have done if that's something that you're looking to get in on. Next fight, Giga Chikadze, 145, taking on Jamey Simmons, UFC newcomer, 146. No stream for Giga, but I was able to watch Jamey. He was the last person to weigh in, the very end of the scale here, and he needed the box of shame. He did make 146, so he did make weight. He's not going to have to donate any of his purse or anything like that. And when they faced off, Giga is just massive. Now, I've talked before about not being sold on Giga. I want to fade him against guys that are grapplers. And when I saw Jamey and I looked at the tape, I was like, ooh, this could be the guy. All this guy does is grapple. He has no striking to speak of. He sells out for that takedown. And if you're stuck underneath him, you are in trouble. The only problem is he damn near missed weight. He's a short notice fight call up, so we don't know that he's in, fighting condition to be able to keep that up for 15 minutes. And Giga seems to be trying to stay active. It almost seems like this is a gimme fight from the UFC. I am not touching this one. Giga's already a 9-1 favorite in some places, and I think that's just insane. We're looking at plus 500 on Jamey Simons, and I mean, if you want to take a flyer at plus 500 or plus 600, like I said, this guy's got the exact skill set that you would want to see to really expose Giga's grappling weakness in MMA. However, he's too green, he's too new, and he may be a little bit suspect as far as his gas tank is concerned. So, I mean, I would have to say it's dog or pass, but I really don't even like that. I'm completely avoiding this fight. Trevin Giles taking on Bevon Lewis. Giles came in at 185.5. Lewis came in at 185 flat. Once again, no stream for this one. When I saw the face-offs, I was able to actually see a little bit of Bevon Lewis, and he looked pretty good on the scales. Bevon actually came in absolutely dialed, hardcore, locked in. He had his hands up. He was in his fighting stance, ready to go before Trevin Giles even got on the stage. Now, we know Trevin Giles has had a couple of anxiety issues, things like that. He backed out of the Holland fight just a couple fights ago because he passed out before the fight, got started there. Who knows if that was a nerve issue or something like that. But Bevon looked a decent bit larger than Trevin Giles. In my earlier breakdown of the week, I said if I had to pick one, I guess I would lean to Trevin Giles because he's got that grappling advantage. After seeing the size advantage between these two guys and seeing how locked in Bevon Lewis is, I mean, this is a pick'em of two guys that I do not like betting on, so I'm not planning on adding a play here or anything like that, but if you must have a play, if you want to bet this one, at this stage, I'm going to have to look at Bevon Lewis. Claudia Gadelha taking on Xiaonan, kicking off our main card portion of the evening. Claudia Gadelha comes in at 115.5. Actually, both women come in at 115.5. Now, Claudia, she always looks good on the scales. This chick is in serious peak condition. Her Instagram is fire. If you like in-shape women, give Claudia a follow over on Instagram. This was business as usual for her. She made weight, No problem at all. Xiaonan, didn't get to see her on the scales, unfortunately, but what I did see from her at the face-offs was phenomenal, in my opinion. She is stone cold dialed in, absolutely ready to go here. And she did the same thing that Bevon Lewis did. She got in her fighting stance. She had her hands up before Claudia even was close to her or on the stage. This chick is ready to go. She cannot wait to get in that cage and fight. And on top of that, she's got some abs popping at this stage. I think she's in better shape than I've honestly ever seen her in. Now, that's coming without my usual impression of her actually being on the scales. This was her facing off, so I didn't get the perfect view of her, but she looks like she's in phenomenal condition for this fight, and she's chomping at the bit to fight. I love seeing that. We got in at a buy low spot on Xiaonan. That line has moved significantly our way here. We got minus 125. She's all the way up to minus 160, minus 165, minus 180 in certain places. So if you got in with me on Yan, you did your job. You beat the line move. Now it's just up to Yan to get this thing done. I like Yan, and I think with how suspect Claudia Gadelha has been in her chin situation lately, I think Yan's going to put her out. I've got a sprinkle on the round 2 and round 3 props for Yan Xiaonan, because once we get to round 2, we know how much Claudia slows down, and we know all Yan does is crank that dial up on the striking offense. Ian the Hurricane Heinisch taking on Brendan Allen Allen. Great fight here. Ian came in at 185.5. Brendan Allen made it 185 flat. No stream for either of these guys, unfortunately, but I don't think I needed the stream for these two. This was the hottest stare down of the day. There is some bad blood between these guys. They both came from the same regional scene. There was some talks of ducking each other, things like that. So very intense face-off. This is one of those ones where you're not really sure what's going to happen based on the body types or anything like that. Allen is definitely bigger than Ian. However, he's a lot lankier. He's skinnier. He's got that build. And Ian is just a tank. He's totally thick, barrel-chested, big back on him. So shorter, squatter, more muscular. You can see how they both managed to fit in the same weight class here. Both guys confident, very intense stare down. I decided to go ahead and take a flyer on Brendan Allen here in the spot. I got him at minus 115. It looks like money is trickling in that direction, but the line hasn't moved a ton. You can still get minus 115, minus 120. I do think I like Allen in this particular spot, but this is going to be a hell of a fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. Honestly, one that you probably don't even need to bet. I did decide to go ahead and pull a trigger on Allen because I think he is the better fighter and stands his matchup here. I think it's a better matchup stylistically speaking for him, but not a bad one if you want to just kind of sit back and fire and popcorn, if you will. Hani Barcelos came in at 135.5. Khalid Taha also made 135.5. No stream for either of these guys. I wasn't able to see them. So when they came in for the face-off, I was very, very interested. Let me tell you, both guys are in peak condition. Now, Khalid Taha, I've got some suspicions about the kind of condition that this guy is in. Hani Barcelos, he is lean, mean, ready to go, muscular, well-built, respectful face-off. Hani just has a really big size advantage. He's much taller, he's much longer, and honestly, he looked very intense. He got up in Khalid Taha's face, and he's been talking about proving that he's a top 10 fighter, things like that, wants to make sure he's in the contender status with this fight. He's coming in on short notice to take on Khalid Taha, who lost his opponent. I think this is a spot where he was ready, he was preparing for a fight, he was getting ready to go, and then he saw an opportunity, and he went, you know what? I can mess that guy up. With the ground game, the high-level credentialed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt of Hani Barcelos, and then the significant striking advantage that he has here. Now, Khalid Taha has power in his corner, but the much more technical striker is Hani Barcelos. He's better everywhere, and that's reflected here in the line. Hani Barcelos is currently a minus 370 favorite. What I did, I've already got that parlay, 1 unit, Max Griffin, Hani Barcelos, for just 1 unit, slight plus money. But I decided, you know what, I'm not totally sold on Max Griffin, so I don't want to double down on that thing. I am sold on Hani Barcelos. I know I kind of missed out on the line, so I parlayed him with the under 1.5 on the fight with the big heavyweights, King Kong and De Lima. I think that's a good spot. It gives you minus 102. I'm going to go 2 units deep on that one because I can't see that heavyweight fight going past the first round. And as long as I get Max Griffin and that under 1.5, I'm going to have 3 units rolling at right around even money on Hani Barcelos, who I think is just the absolute... Yeah, he should dominate this fight. He really should. I mean, this is banana peel pricing. Khalid Taha, absolutely a dangerous striker. He's got that big power. He could clip him. Barcelos has only lost once his entire career, and he's on a mission. He wants to get to that strap. I don't think Taha is the guy to take that from him. I think he gets it to the mat. Whether he decides to flatten him out, ground and pound him, take his back, and choke him out, Hani Barcelos can pretty much do anything he wants in this fight to get that finish. Co-main event, Andrei Arlovski taking on Tanner Boser. This one's fun. Andrei Arlovski is 244.5 and looked in great shape. He's always in a good mood. He was flexing. He did the belt strap thing, which I think is a little bit odd at this stage of the game. Andrei, I love you, buddy. You got to have that self-belief, but nowhere near title contention here. Tanner Boser came in at 232.5, which is extremely light for a heavyweight. He looked in solid shape, had a nice big flex. We know he's been working on his conditioning and things like that. He looked very comfortable, very relaxed. I heard some interviews with him. He knows this is the biggest fight of his career. He knows this is the biggest name that he's gone up against so far. I think he's ready for this test. Now, when they faced off, the one thing that did concern me a little bit is Andrei Arlovski is a decent chunk bigger than Tanner Boser. I didn't expect the size difference to be quite so drastic, so that does kind of open up a slight hold that if you want to say, you know what, Andrei Arlovski is going to use that size advantage to take him to the mat and try and like grind out a 15-minute decision, maybe that's possible. But we know Tanner Boser is a smaller, lighter heavyweight, and we know he does that almost purposefully. Obviously, he can't pick how big he is, but he comes in lighter rather than looking for the power because he knows he needs to escape. He knows he needs to stick and move. He likes to use that leg kick game. So I do think that Tanner Boser is still the play here. I've got him in a 2-unit parlay with King Kong Alexander Romanov earlier in the evening, and I'm not hedging off of that. I'm not looking for a way out of that. I like Tanner Boser here. I think he wins by knockout. Whether it's a leg kick TKO victory or he eventually finds that button on Andrei Arlovski, I think Tanner Boser is going to get it done. Heavyweight time, main event time, light heavyweight time. Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira both came in at 205.5 pounds. Now, originally, I did not have a stream for Thiago Santos. He came in early. He was one of the first people on the scales, but I pulled up a video I was able to find somebody else took of him specifically. And here's the thing. The clip that the UFC posted, I'm terrified of because he looks bad. He's blinking. He's like doing this thing on the scales and he doesn't flex. He kind of puts his arm up here and then he kind of half-heartedly gives a one bicep flex. Just really low energy, low movement from Thiago Santos. Very, very concerning, in my opinion, as someone who decided to go ahead and back him here. But when I found the video of him actually getting off and on the scale, he moved fine when he wasn't getting on and off the scale. So I'm a little concerned because he seems so muted on the scale, and that's a little different from what we've seen from him in the past. You know, he gets up there, he pounds his chest, and he roars, and he's flexing, and he's all muscled up, and he was just really calm and steady up there. So a little bit concerning. Glover Teixeira, he looked locked in. He looked ready to go, and this guy is always ready to go. I'm always looking for an opportunity to bet on Glover, but I said time and time again this week that I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. This is not the spot. I think Thiago Santos is just going to be too much for him in this spot. I think age is finally going to catch up with him. He looked fantastic on the scales. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do because I need to just back Glover Teixeira until the day he dies or retires because he just keeps showing up and he just keeps doing the damn thing. When they faced off, Thiago's a little bit bigger, very calm, both sides, very respectful, both guys. This is going to be a great fight. So what I've done is, unfortunately, I've kind of backed myself into a little bit of a corner here on the main event. Now, if you have tailed me already, you probably want to tail me to try and find a way out of this thing, but I wouldn't suggest tailing me on the main event at this stage of the game. What I did was, last night I decided I wanted to go ahead and back Thiago. However, I don't want to lay minus 250 on him. That just seems like too steep of a price, especially going up against Glover Teixeira. And realistically, do we think Santos is going to win a 5-round decision? Probably not. So I took Thiago Santos inside the distance. I got minus 139, and I felt like that was a fair price. He's more than likely going to win by knockout. I did my usual. I sprinkled rounds 3, 4, and 5 on the knockout props, getting plus 760, plus 1,400, and plus 2,500. The later this fight goes, the better the payout is going to be, and all I've got to do is sweat through rounds 1 and 2. Now, should Thiago Santos land a knockout in rounds 1 or 2, I'll cut into my profits a little bit, but I'll still come out on top. After seeing the weigh-ins, I hate what I see. I don't like the calm, muted, low-energy Thiago Santos, and I especially don't like how he looked actually on the scales. Now, it could just be the layoff. It could be because we haven't seen him in so long, but that's another reason to kind of not trust Thiago here in this situation. That was one of my big questions. I'm kind of kicking myself for making any play on this main event until seeing the weigh-ins. So, with how great Glover looked, with how bad Thiago kind of looked, I decided I'm going to go ahead and hedge off when it comes to the side. I did take a unit shot on Glover Teixeira at plus 200. So if Glover wins, I'm going to slightly profit on that plus 200 versus the minus 139 inside the distance. Thiago winning by decision is essentially the only outcome that I want nothing to do with, because that's the only side that I lose both of those shots on. Again, I'm not a professional sports bettor. This is not how I make my daily, my daily income. So I've put myself in a bad situation here, and that's why I'm being totally open and honest with you guys about it, because I messed up this week and this is not a good spot for me. But what I did do is, once again, with Glover, just like I did with Thiago Santos, is I am sprinkling those 3, 4, and 5 round props, because if Thiago Santos comes out like a bat out of hell early, I talked about this early in the week, I don't expect him to. I think this fight is going to start slow. I think these guys are going to get comfortable, and it's going to ramp up in the second and third rounds and then go from there, very similarly to how Teixeira took control of the fight with Anthony Smith, and it ended a little bit later. If Glover starts cooking this guy on the ground, if Glover gets the takedowns, if he gets the grappling going and wears him out, then again, he's going to be looking for a finish, not early, but late. So I did take those round 3 props, and they're far juicier on Glover. Round 3 is 21-1. Round 4 and 5 are both 34-1. So I have both Glover and Santos, unfortunately, in a bad head situation. Thiago Santos inside the distance, so he's got to finish the fight for me. Thiago Santos by decision is the worst case scenario where I lose on all fronts here. Again, transparency, honesty is everything here at the Die Hard MMA podcast. I really like my stances on the rest of this card. This main event is the only spot where I feel like I messed up. I'm hoping somebody goes to sleep in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, because as long as one of them wins in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, I win. It doesn't matter who. If Glover finishes, I'm more of a fan of Glover at this point late in the fight, because if Glover wins in round 4, that's my biggest payout opportunity. If Thiago Santos wins in round 3 or 4, that's fine. That'll get me by. That'll make up the difference for the hedge, and I'll still be profitable. So I just need this thing not to go to decision. And same thing with the early finish. If one of these guys finishes in round 1 or round 2, I will still manage to not lose quite as much, because if Glover wins, it'll make up for some of the props that I bet. And if Santos wins, that's inside the distance. At least I'll break even on the Glover bet, and I'll lose about a unit with all these little small sprinkles on the 3 and 4 props. So praying for rounds 3, 4, and 5 in the main event come Saturday. That's the post-weigh-in recap for you folks at this point in time. If you want to know what I think for the main event, if you want to know where I would look for the main event, considering I've completely screwed up my own personal card, I would be looking to roll the dice on Glover Teixeira. If you're looking for a spot, don't go hard, don't go big. Glover's the value side. He looked better at the weigh-ins. I think he looks like he's in better shape. But again, you just can't count out Thiago Santos, and we don't know what we're going to see from him come Saturday. So that's the way I would be looking if you haven't made a play yet. And from now on, I think, especially with these bigger boys, anytime there's a question like Thiago coming in off the surgery, I just need to wait until we see the weigh-ins to make that final decision, because something like this could have definitely saved me a couple dollars. Would have made a little bit of a difference. Thank you all very much for tuning in. This is odds.com. Make sure you give the video a like and a share. Comment down below. Let me know what your favorite bet for UFC Vegas 13 is on Saturday. There's lots of college action coming up in the next couple of days with football and everything going on. So good luck on all of your bets, and we will see you Saturday. Let's roll.